got that cherry bomb.
Thank you. All right, let's do this.
Okay, welcome to Breaking Beauty Podcast. Lisa, we're so happy you're here.
I'm so happy to be here. So lovely to meet you both.
You've been on our vision board for years, so we're beyond excited. And so you started as like an original YouTuber. You're somewhat of a beauty historian, and in addition to an incredible makeup artist. But where did all of this get started? This obsession with color and painting and even beauty history?
It started when I was really young.
Yeah.
So when I was about 6, we moved from New Zealand to England.
Okay.
And we stayed with my grandmother in the beginning. And in my mum's bedroom, so it would have been her sort of teenage, early 20s bedroom, there was a box in there that I can remember it so well. And it was, you know, those sort of cardboard little drawers. I guess it was like an old-fashioned jewelry sort of thing. And it was just full of her old makeup. So it was really interesting, kind of Mary Quant stuff and all the coaty lip glosses and all the stuff that she'd worn. And the 60s is really famous for being, the makeup trend was very childlike. Everything was crayons or gloopy glosses, or, you know, it was that kind of rebellion against the 50s and girls not wanting to be anything like their mothers. So there was no gold in there. It was all plastic. It was all shiny. And I was really obsessed with sort of painting and drawing anyway. So I was like, wow, this is the best paint box I've ever seen. And I just used to use that all the time. I never put it on my own face. I never did makeup with it, but I used to use it to kind of draw faces and add color. And it was so much more interesting.
Charts, I guess.
Face charts, but I didn't know they were face charts.
Yeah.
And I used it for all of that. And I used to go back to it I absolutely loved it. And I think the connection as well with, like, it smelt different. You know, it was my mum's kind of, it felt like history and memories, and everything about it just really appealed to me. And that started, I guess, the love affair with makeup, with the textures, with the objects themselves, and also with just this idea of the possibilities with makeup.
Yeah, I love that. And you've been a career makeup artist for 3 decades, is that
Yes,
right?
that's correct, yeah.
Amazing. And you've just celebrated 15 years on YouTube as well as a content creator. And for what it's worth, everyone, YouTube is, I think, 20 years old. So safe to say you are an early adopter. And something that struck me that you've said when I was like kind of researching for this chat is the first time you saw a video on YouTube, you said, "This is punk." And I don't think a lot of your contemporaries would have said that, because a lot of people at the time were very, and us coming from the magazine world too, even when blogs started, people were like, ew, blogs? Like, who are these people? They're not editors. They're not sort of like part of the club, as it were. So what seemed punk to you about YouTube?
So I remember I was in a studio on a really high fashion shoot, and the hairdresser, I think it was, and the editor were kind of laughing in the corner, and they went, "Oh my God, have you seen these girls on YouTube?" So this would have been probably 3 years even before I launched, or maybe a couple of years before I did my video. And I was like, "No, what is it?" So they do makeup, and they were kind of laughing at them and like, taking the piss out of them, really.
Yeah.
So I went over and I'm watching. It was Lauren Luke. So she's got a dog snoring in the there. It's his bedroom. It's very real, and she's just talking through products, what she thinks of them. And I was instantly blown away. And I was like, wow, this is the future, guys. And they were like, "Are you crazy?"
Yeah.
I was like, no, this is the future. You don't realize how punk this is. Yeah. This is, to the beauty industry in terms of, this is the height of retouching. Yes. So I was doing loads and loads of campaigns, makeup campaigns, and I was using 2 sets of fake lashes because that's what the clients wanted. And I'd say to them, like, there are these girls on YouTube that are going to review this, and you should, like, and they'd be like, "Oh, no, that's nothing to do with us. We're a luxury brand. Right. YouTube is not going to ever affect us at all." That's what all the brands were saying. So I'd constantly try and say to them, look, you shouldn't really over retouch, and why are we putting 3 sets of fake eyelashes on when it's going to be reviewed? So I just thought, I want to do this. Yeah. I want to do my own version of this. And I literally thought, it was the first video I did. I'd been out the night before. I was quite hungover. And I said, I'm going to shoot my first video today. And my husband was like, are you sure? Because you look really, really rough. And I'm like, yes, because I, as a makeup artist, know I can make myself look good for today. We were going out somewhere. And I'd love to pass that on. So I need to look rough. This is the perfect day to do it. And I did it. And I didn't tell anyone in the fashion industry, 'cause I just kept it really quiet. And it literally took 2 years for any, and I had a lot of followers by then. And again, I went on a really high fashion shoot, and I think it was the stylist assistant went, oh my God, I love your videos on YouTube. And everyone swung around. It was like a slow motion. And they went, you're on YouTube? And I said, don't worry, guys, it's not for you. It's for real people.
Take that, Sam McKnight or whoever was
there. Exactly. But yeah, it was, I just don't know. I just saw it so clearly as being the biggest sea change in the beauty industry. And to me, it felt akin to like after the First World War. That much of a sea change. And in fact, it ended up being bigger than that. So I was like, I'm lucky to be alive, because this is like a massive, massive change in our industry.
I always love the fact that you use your own face to show what it is that you're doing, because especially in that era, you think of like the Linda Cantellos, even like the Pat McGrath, you know, it was very much, and I remember in the magazine days when we were doing tutorials on YouTube, there was a model. There was always a model. And so the idea of a professional of your standing using your own face, that was very, very new. And I always appreciate, to this day, those are the people who I follow on social media, because it just feels like it doesn't apply to me when it's a 16-year-old girl who's getting her makeup done. So what, you know, you could have opted for that. What made you think, no, it has to be me?
The thing that I felt really strongly about is that whenever people watch someone do a model, or when you read in a magazine like how to do your makeup, you're not seeing how to hold the mirror, where is your elbow, what angle is your hand, which way are you looking, because obviously the model, you're coming in from a side, and doesn't relate to how you do your own makeup. So when you do it yourself, you're able to say, see that when I do this, or when I, and that was the thing to me, this is changing everything now. Because you could write, you know, shade a socket line in a magazine. What does that mean? You've got to be doing it on your own face to show where is the mirror, what's the angle of your chin, what are you looking at, how are you holding that brush. So it was for that reason, really.
It's brilliant. And your channel has over 2 million subscribers and 253 plus million views, which is just incredible. And you've published nearly 600 videos. So is there any one of them that you're particularly proud of?
I think all of the ones that were really about sort of understanding your own face. Lots of the complexion ones, you know, that were really introducing this idea of pinpoint concealing. You know, that one I did quite early on about covering acne, which came from, because I'd had the worst acne. So I'm like, I know how to do this. That one, I got so many people saying, you changed my total philosophy on makeup, because I was putting on loads and loads of foundation to try and cover my acne. And actually, you know, I just listening to how you spoke about it really changed where I felt about myself. I'm so much more confident. My makeup looks so much better. So that one probably is one of my favorites.
That's incredible.
Now you have a pinpoint concealer pencil. And I think out of context, a lot of people might not realize how to use it or what it's for. So tell us about the connection between that product and that video, that technique that listeners might be able to take away a tip from.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the whole philosophy is really about just honing in on the areas that you see as being problematic, because everyone has a different bugbear about their makeup anyway. And I remember way back from when I was creative director of Shiseido and going to Japan a lot and working a lot with women, and they'd sort of come in and they'd have really heavy makeup on, and I'd think, oh dear, maybe they've got issues, and they'd take their makeup off. And then I'd say, oh, you've got beautiful skin. And they'd say, oh no, I have this terrible pigmentation. And I'd be like, what, this bit here? And I'd say, do you know that's like 5% of your face, and the rest, 95%, is perfect. So that kind of made me realize that it was something that everyone hones in on like the worst thing that they don't like about their face or they don't like about their skin. So really with the Pinpoint, it's something that makeup artists love doing as well. You know, you're about to go on set and it's just one little thing that you want to cover. So you're not thinking about your foundation as giving you a blanket cover. Of course, it's evening out your skin tone. Yeah. You are using concealer where you want maybe some correction of color or whatever. But then there's just using a small amount of concealer on those main little flaws as you see them. You know, red capillaries and this kind of frees up the rest of your skin to look really natural and beautiful. And the thing is, when you meet someone, and I say this to people all the time, they're not looking at your skin, all the details. They're looking in your eyes. They're looking at your energy and, you know, how excited and passionate you are about something. And, you know, if you don't need to kind of be that critical. You really don't, because nobody is noticing that tiny little thing here.
Yeah.
Do you use the Pinpoint concealer ever to fill in lines, or is that a no-no?
Not really fill in lines. I don't really think that's a great idea, but I definitely would use it where there's areas like around the mouth, you know, very often on the lip line when you've got a little bit of pigmentation or freckles or something underneath that kind of drags your lip down. I use it for that. I use it to lift the corners of the eyes, around the sort of sides of the nose. Definitely use it to lift here.
The marionette lines.
The marionette lines. If you use a slightly lighter colour, and it's almost like it is like photoshopping. You're kind of scribbling in and bringing the light to that area. And if I use my pencils, I've got two, really well. You can kind of like give yourself like a facelift.
A little facelift.
But it's very minimal what you're doing. But it's effective.
Yeah.
It's so effective.
Yeah.
Yeah. If anyone's listening and they haven't tried Lisa's Pinpoint concealer, the difference is it's in a really slender pencil, almost like an eye pencil.
Eyeliner,
but it's meant to do that pinpoint concealing. And I thought it was brilliant that you came out with that. So, of course, like true to what you're talking about all the time, but I've never seen a product that is just designated for that, you know? So
I actually
I
recommended it to Ash K. Home. She
Oh,
was
yes.
she was on our show recently, and she was giving us a tip of one thing she likes to do on the face is draw a very thin vertical line down the nose. And she said she leaves it on her client and does other things and comes back to
blends.
it and blends it
Okay.
in. And I said, oh, have you tried Lisa's Pinpoint concealer?
Well, thank you very much.
Because it's very thin. So
And she's great, so thank you for that.
so we talked about a popular video. Are there any videos that you thought about Control-Alt-deleting them because you're like, it doesn't really speak to me anymore?
There was only one video that I put up. How to describe this? Okay, so years ago, I'd started my YouTube channel, but I'd also written a documentary series, a history documentary series, because I had this phenomenal vintage collection, even 20 years, 30 years ago, and I'd gone to see a producer, and he was this guy that was, I don't know, you know the type. He was just like an old guy with like chinos on, and he was like, a history doc. He was like really high up I think he was in the BBC. I forget where I went now. And he said to me, a history document about makeup. He said, what, mascara? And I was like, well, there's more to it than that. And I was trying to like really sell this thing in, and I left so deflated. He was so horrible to me. Like, get a life, there's never in a million years is anyone going to be interested in the history of makeup, so move on. So to go to that meeting, I had made a really short kind of teaser to show him. So I'd kind of taken some free studios where I could. One of them was I'd got an hour at a studio, and I wanted to do a Marilyn Monroe makeup to discuss her relationship with her makeup artist and how that's key. So I had this thing, and we got a model at the very last minute because they said you can shoot now. So I was like, quickly, let's get a model. I had to use what I had there. I kind of tagged it onto the end of a shoot. So I shot this video, which was only ever meant to be the teaser.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was so annoyed with this guy when I left. I thought, I'm going to put part of that teaser onto my YouTube channel. And then I bet you it's going to get views. I'm going to go back in a month and say, there, look at that.
Take that.
Take that, you. So I thought, it's fine. I thought, it's not completely, it was so rushed, the video. It's good, but it wasn't like maybe, what I wanted. So I kind of put it up. It got 1 million views in the first month.
In
the
a
first
month?
like couple of weeks, actually.
Wow.
Anyway, by then, I'd kind of simmered down about the whole thing, and I thought, he doesn't deserve me, and
Yeah.
I'm not going back, and I'm going to do, one day I'll do a documentary, it'll be on my own terms,
Yeah.
and in the meantime, I'll write a book, and it'll be a bestseller, and he can come crawling back to me once that's a bestseller. But then I ended up, people loved that video, so I left it up. But of course, I see flaws with it because I know we shot it in an hour. I know that we were on the edge of our seats, that we got a model that had never heard of Marilyn Monroe, and it was all kind of like, quickly, let's shoot this teaser. So yes,
That's a great story.
Yeah.
That's a great story. And of course, the book you're talking about is what's it called?
Face paint.
Face paint. Oh my
Yes.
gosh, yes, beautiful. And
Thank
it
you.
is a bestseller. Everyone, if you haven't seen it, you need to see it.
Yeah, it's a
No,
The cover alone is amazing.
Now, before you started your own line, you consulted for some really major cosmetics brands like Boots, Chanel, Shiseido. You're currently the global makeup creative director for Lancome. Of all of the products that you've helped to create, tell us which one you think has had the most long-lasting impact and why, if you can.
Gosh, there's so many other products that I've worked on that I never am allowed to say as well.
Yes,
So
of
it's quite
course.
fun when I go into a department store and I'm a bit like, oh, I did that. I did that one. Oh, there's mine. So officially, yeah, I guess probably some of the mascaras that I've done for Lancome because they became so huge. Like I did Mr. Big and I did Lash Idol.
That's a great
And people
one.
always say to me, oh, I love those mascaras. They're so nice. And,
Yeah.
you know, they're really beautiful mascaras. So
To be able to
Yeah.
step into a house like Lancome, which was infamous for its mascaras, and to be able to create something new and different, like that's just so cool.
yeah,
you know,
it is. I love creating product. It's one of
it's
the most
cool.
creative.
Did you always have that passion for product creation, or were you able to just like step in the lab and just discover and figure it out as you went? Like,
So my first creative director role was at Shiseido.
yeah.
And at the time, I did a brand for them from scratch. So
Oh,
it was a
wow.
brand just for the Asian market.
Oh.
So firstly, it was just fascinating because the history of the area, to be able to really get under the bonnet and understand culturally what the Korean market would want as opposed to the Japanese market, as opposed to the Chinese market, as opposed to all of the different,
Yeah.
and to really understand that, firstly was super interesting. Plus, you know, history of colour is so different.
Yeah.
You know, I might say, oh, it's a shocking pink, it's a really fun colour. That would be perceived totally differently in other countries.
Right.
They'd say, oh no, that's a very traditional colour, or
Right.
that's a very... So our perceptions of colour, firstly, I find so fascinating
Yeah.
historically. And then, yeah, being able to go to the Shiseido labs and learn from them from the beginning and to
Yeah.
ask so many questions because I'm that annoying person. And they used to say, Lisa, you're really challenging us. And I'm like, yes, but why can't we do that? And what's the difference with this? And I think at the time I didn't understand that really makeup, cosmetic science had been through such a huge upheaval in the 90s, which was when everything just moved on, and it started in Japan. So the water and silicone and the silicone and water emulsions that became modern day makeup was started off in lipstick and then rolled out to face products.
Yeah.
So to be there at that time, or just at the end of that period, and be working with them, and they didn't use, on my particular brand that I did for them, we didn't use any third-party lab, so everything we did was in-house.
Wow.
And I worked on the packaging, the copywriting, all the formulas, everything. And it was a real steep learning curve, but I learnt so much, so much about it. That
Training
was,
ground and playground, I'm sure,
yeah,
all rolled
yeah,
into
absolutely,
one. You know,
absolutely.
very fun.
I love all beauty products made in Japan, I
Yes.
swear. Let's discuss some of your makeup tips and tricks. Our audience loves that. So you touched on this earlier. You're a big proponent of people really getting acquainted and understanding their face before just kind of jumping in and applying what they might see on YouTube or on social media. So can you give us an example of this principle in like a real life scenario? How you might approach applying a product based on the shape of someone's face, let's say, or their eyes or whatnot.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, there was a real moment there when YouTube kind of started and then it became popular. And a lot of the people that were on YouTube were taking inspiration from Kevin Aucoin's books, which were amazing, but were very much that late 80s, 90s, and it was quite theatrical. So it became a very paint by numbers thing. No disrespect to Kevin Aucoin, he's the genius and I love him to bits. But there was a kind of thing where every face has to be like this, and it was I didn't like that, to be honest. I thought it's gorgeous makeup, and in the right scenario on the right face, especially if you're on TV or you're in the media or in front of flashlights, but it doesn't necessarily translate to every single face. So I was very much wanting to try to, anyway, with my YouTube channel, to say, look, different faces suit different things. Everyone's anatomy is so different. And if you've got, I've got a very long, thin face. If I was to contour a lot, I would just look even thinner and longer, which I wouldn't want to happen. So I very much look at every face when I'm working with a client, and I don't ever really make people up the same way. I tend to change it every time, because what works for one person just won't work for the next. And I'm trying to bring out the best in everyone's features to make them feel the best they possibly can. And obviously I like some trends. I'm not anti-trend, but I think, there is anatomy of faces, and certain faces just suit things. And also personality, Wouldn't it be boring if everyone looked the same? And some people want, I love like really strong eye makeup. Great, let's do it. That's your personality. That's how you feel good. That's how you want to be in the world. So I'm not going to say to you, well, that's not trending at the moment. So I'm just going to do a little bit of mascara on you and you'll be done. Because, I really want to, especially if I'm working obviously with, not so much on editorials, you can kind of play, but if you're working with somebody that you're there to do their makeup and also make them feel the best they possibly can before they step on the red carpet, which is so daunting. So I think I've come up from what you asked me originally.
But if someone's listening and they're like, I don't even know, it's like, you should be acquainted with your face, but maybe people are like, I think what people tend to do is look in the mirror and just criticize versus observing.
Yeah, that's
true.
So
how do you figure out what your angles are or like how to work with your face shape? Let's say you have maybe a wider forehead and or more pronounced cheekbones. Like, how do you work with that?
I think look at yourself in daylight, every now and again in really good light, and just see how your skin is doing. See, what changes there are, because, faces change a lot, skin changes a lot, season to season, year to year. There is so much education now, so at least that's available.
Right.
And then, of course, everyone has a different, you might never notice that somebody, it's like when I sit down with a new client, I don't know their history. I don't know that somebody said to them when they were 13, you've got weird eyes. I don't know, because I don't notice that. I don't know psychologically how they feel about their face as well. So you have to be, this is why you can't be too, dictate too much about makeup, because I'll always say to people, what do you like, what do you dislike? And it's the same with anyone looking at their own face. They'll be like, well, I'd love to do, make this area of my face smaller, or I'd like to bring my eyes and make them bigger. And then you can find good tutorials about that. And you can experiment, and makeup's wonderful in the way that you can try it, and if it doesn't work, you take it off. It's not like hairdressing.
Yes.
When you have to fully commit to a haircut.
Now, we've heard you talk about in the past getting your skincare and your makeup synced up. What's the secret to doing that?
I think that formulation is key, because, obviously some things can peel really bad underneath your foundation. So sometimes it's trial and error, really, because you may not be able to kind of know immediately. But if you find that you're putting on some kind of a primer or a moisturizer, which just doesn't work under your makeup, it, makes it oxidize or makes a foundation not last as long, then you're probably using something that's too oily, because you are breaking down probably the silicone in your foundation or whatever's in there. But I think that formulation is key, absolutely. Right. And also, I'm not somebody that puts on tons and tons and tons of skincare before makeup.
Okay.
I don't think that's the time to put 17 layers of skincare on, personally.
Yeah.
Because I like thin layers of everything. I think it lasts longer, it looks better. Obviously, at nighttime, go crazy, or on days when you're not, you know. But when I'm kind of doing somebody's makeup, I'm not going to put sort of a serum, a thing, and 3 creams and an eye cream and because I don't want the makeup to be affected, and I need it to be in synergy with the skin. So I need to put on a nice base that works with their skin type, but that is going to really feel like it melds with the makeup, which melds with the skin, and everything is in synergy together. And I feel like if it's just sitting on top of something, I'm never going to be happy with that. I really like to see that moment when everything just gels together.
Yeah.
What's your favorite makeup? I'm one of these people that I've heard you talk about on your channel where my face eats makeup.
Oh yeah, I know I know that type
where
very
you're
well.
like, oh, I just put it on, it's gone again. It's deep. That's me. So what's your favorite moisturizing base for someone like me?
It depends if you're oily or dry, because obviously
I'm oily.
The face, those face eater people like you, which is why it's so great when I'm first with a new client, because you're kind of like, I'm going cautiously, because I don't know what we're going to be in for, so we just have to like figure that out. So I would use something like one that I really like, and it's not expensive, is the Bioderma Pore Refiner.
Really?
I like using that on people who eat makeup, because it just kind of holds everything, just a really thin layer of that over any areas that I know are going to get oily, particularly on the T-zone. And that's one that I've just used for years.
And you're patting it in, or do you apply with a brush?
No, I do a really thin layer, either with fingers or a brush. A really thin, again, so it's kind of like, you know, because if you start kind of buffing it or rubbing it in, you might get some breakage of the formula, which I just want everything to be very, you know, everything flat.
And if you're drier, or if you're someone who doesn't eat, they feel like their face looks dry, you know?
So I'm quite old school again. I'll use Embryolisse, I'll use Trad Embryolisse. There's a Ven cream that I really like, VENN, which is all-in-one concentrate. I love that under makeup.
Ooh, never tried
because
that.
Because it's slightly like a moisturizer and a primer in one. So it's quite good for those. It might be a bit much for you because it's got shea butter in.
Yeah, shea butter is my arch nemesis.
Okay, so it's not going to work for you, but for the drier girls,
okay. I love that.
Now, you mentioned oxidizing, and this is a word we see a lot I notice on product reviews. Oh, this oxidized on my skin. For the listener who might not know what that means, tell us, and how to avoid that. Is that a product problem, or is that a person's skin issue or application?
Okay, so I did a lot of research on this, because around 2014 there was a massive influx of silicone in water foundations, like just loads and loads of new ones, really lovely textures. And I remember using a brand that I really liked, and I was using as foundation for sort of red carpet, and then they brought out a new version of one of their hero foundations, and I kind of used it. And I did someone's makeup for the red carpet, and they went off to get changed, and their belt broke. So usually, like, they come back, and you've got time for tweaks and all of that stuff. So she'd had her hair done and makeup done. She went off, and then she was gone for like 20 minutes. So by the time she came back, there was 5 minutes till the red carpet, and I was like, oh my God, orange face. Anyway, I quickly fixed it. I managed to kind of buff over it with a bit of concealer, and it was all fine. But at the time, one of my really good friends was Steve Barton. This guy was the head of the cosmetic scientist group in London, the Society of Cosmetic Scientists. And I said to him, what's going on with these silicone and water emulsions? Anyway, I did a massive, great big piece of research on it, kind of behind the scenes with a polymer expert, and it was just the coatings were not right. So, and I started working on my own foundation then, and I ended up kind of sourcing pigment coating. So what it is basically is that, you know, when you go to like the park and there's a pond and you see at the edge there's like rusty stuff coming off in the water, that is true oxidation in terms of that can happen with water-based foundations, because you've got pigments that are essentially iron oxides in there. They come into contact with the water, and they're the ones that do this. They oxidize within the first hour because it's an immediate thing. Then there's the kind of oxidation which is something that happens much later, which is when either you've got very oily skin, and again, it's not properly coated pigments, or they're not coated with the right ingredients.
Oh, interesting.
Because the oil is getting to the oxides. And that would be, you see less of that now.
Yeah.
Where it's 2-3 hours later you're getting more and more orange. So there is still this immediate thing. But I think people also confuse wet and dry with oxidation. So if you paint your wall with paint, you know what it looks like. You're like, I love that colour. An hour later it's dry. And you're like, oh, it's a different colour, whether you like it or not. But it's wet and dry is nothing to do with oxidation.
Right.
It is a wet colour reflects light, and a dry colour dries down and doesn't. So I would say, when I see on social media people putting really thick layers of stuff, it's not the colour. It's not the colour. To see the colour, a thin layer dried down, that's the colour it's going to be on the skin. So when you see swatches online that are very, very thick, like 3 pumps of foundation, all you're watching is a drying process. And it looks like it's oxidizing. It's not, it's drying, but it won't be able to dry because it's too thick.
Right.
So you need to put a thin layer on, and that's how you're going to see. So really try it on your face, I guess, and blend it out a bit.
Right.
And
Right.
that's what you're going to get.
Okay.
That's the colour.
Great.
And hopefully the pigments are well preserved and well coated, so that once it dries down, it will not change at all.
Okay.
Yeah, I've always been suspicious when people say things oxidize, because I don't think makeup brands are out here. They don't want their products oxidizing on people. They're running tests on them and whatnot, right? So maybe at the very outset, but
Some do.
some don't. Let's throw them under the bus right now. Okay, that's good. What about obviously you have your favorite foundation, but what's still in your kit? What's still persisting over these years? What have you had in your kit for like the better part of 3 decades for a foundation?
Some of my brushes, which are hilarious because they're quite threadbare, some of them, but they're still so great.
Yeah.
So good quality brushes, absolutely. Like when I worked at Shiseido, so I used to be in Japan all the time in like the early 2000s. Of course, I used to buy makeup brushes every time I went. And they're all perfect still, you know. I still have, and it's funny because this morning I said, oh my God, I need to get a new eyelash curler, but it's still the Shimura one.
Oh yeah.
But that one I do need to get a new one. I think that's given up now. So yeah, I still love Japanese brushes.
Yeah.
I still love Japanese eyelash curlers. They're like such a fail safe for me.
Yeah.
And they've 30 years in, so
Yeah. Any foundation brands though that you still like that you've been using for?
Yeah, now that I've got my tint, I
Yes.
used to like using MAC Face and Body, especially for like legs and things, because you could feel that it wouldn't come off on the clothes. And if you're going to obviously do a fashion shoot and the clothes are really expensive, you wanted something that would kind of settle down. So definitely that.
The Studio Fix? Is that the one?
No, it was a Face and Body. Actually, I don't think they
just
make it
called Face and
anymore.
Body.
I know,
Okay.
they
Which is
got
such
rid
a
of
shame,
it.
because I've still got the old ones in the big bottles, because when do leg makeup, arm makeup, body makeup, it's brilliant for that. And then I still have the original Chanel powder, which, you know, is still great. The loose powder, I still use that. Still like the Laura Mercier Secret Camouflage.
I still have it.
Yeah, so that one. So there are certain things that I think you
Stood
just...
the test of time.
Yeah, and also, you know, when... Editorial's easy because you can try anything out, especially new things. But if you're going to go and do a red carpet with someone or a live event, you know, you don't want to try anything new. And you feel so frightened of doing that you'll just go with something that you've had for years. Because you know it doesn't flash back, or it doesn't do this, or, you know, or I'll use my own products because I know, you know, there's no SPF in it. I know what the pigments are coated. I know. because you need that reassurance, because it's quite, I think red carpet's probably the scariest makeup to do.
I feel like you're an original in that sense that most makeup artists really focus on only red carpet, right? If they're working with celebs, but you're doing editorials and red carpets and YouTubes and all of these things.
I like all of it.
Yeah,
that's a problem.
Well, you're amazing.
I can't
at
give
all of
anything
it.
up because I love all of it.
I did want to ask you. Oh my gosh. Oh, where do you stand on talc in powders versus no talc?
I did my eyeshadow with no talc.
Okay.
And I think they are great. So
Yeah.
I don't think you need talc to formulate.
Okay.
It's cheap, it's cheerful, it works. So if you're fine with it,
Yeah.
it's in terms of the makeup effect, you know, if you like that effect and you want talc, then I think it's fine.
Yeah.
Personally, I don't have it in my own brand.
Yeah.
Because I don't think you need to now. It just takes a bit longer to formulate.
Right.
And it's, yeah.
What about for finishing powders? Because that caused an uproar last year when people were saying,
Yeah.
this used to be my favorite, and
And they
now
take the talc out.
they've taken the
Yeah.
talc out. It's not the
You can do a
same.
good talc-free
You
powder.
can.
You can. I mean, listen, the one I'm using has still got talc in it, the
Yeah.
Chanel one, but I see a lot of good talc-free powders
Okay,
now. So
okay.
I think it is, you know, like everything.
Yeah.
Things are always improving. Cosmetic
Yes.
science is the new rock and roll. So it is, you know, it's pioneering every day.
I love that.
The trajectory from the beginning of time is like this. This is what was in makeup. Like then you've got the 90s. So you've got from beginning, like 125,000 years ago. And then it goes like that in the 90s, like that in the 2000s. And now it's like that.
Straight
Brilliant.
It's a
Yeah.
tiny little bit
Vertical
of
shot.
time.
Oh, thank God we're alive for this.
Let's talk about your patchwork complexion technique. People need to know about this.
Yeah, they do. This, for me, just works on everyone. So I will do a thin layer of either tinted moisturizer, my skin tint, or foundation, depending on what the event is, what the person is, what the skin's like, what the effect is we're going for. And then I'll just go back in and add more coverage where I need to add it. And I think that it sounds in, you know, what you're telling us something, but honestly, it's amazing how it was never seemed to be done. Like people put another layer of foundation or another.
Yeah.
I just love faces when there's dimension there, and you can never tell when there's a lot of coverage in one area and not another if it's well blended, because overall the effect is when I look at you and I'm looking into your eyes and we're chatting, what I'm seeing is your cheekbones. I'm seeing the center of your nose here and a little bit above your brows. If this is all lovely and highlighted, I don't notice that you might have here a ton of
My
makeup
on your
hormonal
jaw.
acne.
No, but you know what I mean, like you could
Yeah,
have a lot
exactly.
on there, and
Yeah.
it's really from my own. When I started as a makeup artist, I'd had really bad acne as a teenager on my back, not really on my face. I did have it, but it wasn't bad. And then I'd been on pills and it made it better, and then I couldn't be on the pills, so I came off them. And as I was starting in the fashion industry in the 90s, I had the worst acne all over my jawline, all under here, and my forehead. So I had bangs cut, which didn't suit me, and I used to wear high-necked things, which
Bless.
wasn't really a thing.
Yeah.
But makeup-wise, you know, I'd go to like an amazing shoot with like, I don't know, David Sims and Guido. I couldn't turn up in a thick face of makeup because you just look so like you didn't know what was going on.
Right.
So I just got so amazing at pinpoint concealing and patchworking. I'd have coverage here to the point where people would say, "Oh, your skin's amazing. You've got no makeup on." And I'd be thinking, if only you knew how much makeup, but they wouldn't notice that I had this issue. My skin would look really good and I'd feel confident. And then I was able to like get rid of my bangs and wear normal.
Yeah.
So I got very passionate about that and how it was almost, yes, it was quite deceiving because I was wearing makeup that, you know, was secret in a way. But I felt really good. I felt really confident, and people seemed to think, were always complimenting me on my perfect skin. So I thought, gosh, this... And it got to the point where agents... I remember doing a singer, a really famous singer, and she had really bad acne. And I did her makeup, and she was like, oh my God, like I've never seen anything like this. And then her manager and then some publicists. The next thing, I was the sort of go-to for celebrities and musicians with acne, because they'd be like, get Lisa to do your makeup.
Bless.
Your skin will look perfect, but you won't look like you've got loads of makeup on.
That's the goal.
Yeah.
That's
So
the
it
goal.
exactly.
That's the professional
so it kind
makeup
of
artist real
touch.
skill. The trademark is that
Yeah.
is the perfect looking skin, but it doesn't look like there's any
or feel
makeup
like
on.
it. And that's the
Yeah.
compliment
Yeah.
I still get
Yeah.
from all my clients. They say, I don't feel like I'm wearing any makeup.
Yeah.
And even if they've got quite a lot on,
Yeah.
they don't feel, you know, like the makeup's wearing them.
Yeah. Can I ask you about the patchwork technique? Because I'm familiar with it, but wearing a skin tint and the foundation.
Yeah, that's my favorite thing
Yeah,
to do.
tell me more about that, because I don't think I would have. I'd be like, oh, the tint is like a different texture, or oftentimes than my foundation. So how do you
Yeah.
get those to cooperate?
So, I mean, they go together well, mine particularly, but I put like a thin layer of tint all over.
Yes.
So that will do what I call the evening out.
Yeah.
So that is the thing about doing something like a pinpoint concealer or a patchwork, is that you can't use it in isolation strongly, because if you think of, you know, the edge of that thicker product, it needs to go into something else. So it's kind of like, of course you can do a pinpoint to go to the gym, whatever you've done, but if you're going to do an immaculate full face, a thin layer of the tint all over, then I will go in with the foundation.
Yeah.
And on myself, I'll go round here. Most people like
Just right around the nose.
Round the nose, sort of here, you know, all around the center of the face, and anywhere else. I'll go underneath my cheekbones. I do that as well, just to lift the cheekbones a little bit. So, but again, the feeling is that I haven't got a full face of. So I'm still looking like I don't have any makeup on yet, but I've got very good skin.
Right.
And then I'll hone it even further with concealer, pinpoint concealer. So it's almost like I describe it, and I don't know what they're called, but you know those graphs when there's an earthquake or a hilly terrain, and you have that kind of, there's the center, and then you've got a sort of thinner layers either side of it, because then you can blend out those edges. And I say, whenever you do pinpoint concealing, don't do a solid edge. So with my pencils, don't draw a solid circle.
Okay.
Because you're going to see the different texture.
It's like a
on the
halo
edge.
effect. It, like, sometimes
need
if you
to-
do it wrong, it's like it
You're
draws more
highlighting,
attention.
absolutely.
Been there.
You
Not
don't-
your product,
no,
but been there.
No, you don't need that.
Okay, so what do you do then?
So I do a little scribble, and with the first layer, I blend with my fingers so that it's maybe blended away from the actual spot, but that gives you a little bit more coverage, and you've got those thin edges going into the surrounding areas. And then I'll go back in and just be on the center, and tap,
Right.
so that you literally can't see it. And
Yeah.
I wear really strong glasses when I do make, because I like to see inside pores, not just pores. I want to see inside them.
Yes.
And if I check that looks really good. And once you get the hang of it, it's so easy to use.
Yeah.
Got it.
What about your tried and true method for concealing under the eyes? I know that's such a problem for a lot of people. For me, I have a lot of puffiness, but like if you have dark circles specifically, pinpointing is not always going to cut it.
Not for dark
Talk to me.
circles. No,
Yes.
that's not a pinpointing thing
Yeah.
at all. So with dark circles, they usually do need correction, because it'll be more of a bruise, in which case it's blue or purple, and that's
Yeah.
really when you've just got little leakages from the capillaries. Or it could be that it's pigmentation. It's very often genetic, so it's not necessarily, you know, I feel sorry when people say, oh, are you tired? And he's like, no, she's obviously got, that's hereditary, you know. So I would correct first and try. I think if you correct really well, you don't need tons of product, because again, you don't want to like overload, unless you're going on camera, you know, that's a whole different, you're going on TV, it's a whole different thing. So I'll try and correct, and I'll let it sit for a while and then add more. I'd rather do that than add tons and tons in the beginning. So I'll do like a layer which seems to me to have corrected it, and then I'll maybe go and do another area of the face.
Okay.
And then I'm back saying, oh, actually, that's worked there, but she needs now more in the center, or she needs more just by her nose, and I'll go back in. And then with puffiness, it's a whole different thing, because you're basically concealing, which you can't conceal, a shadow.
Yeah.
And you've got shape there. So it's dimension. So what you don't want to be doing is highlighting or going too light here, because that's going to bring that area forward. And then where you've got your dark bit, which is the shadow.
Yeah.
So the thing about puffy under eyes is that it's a lighting issue.
Yeah.
You know, you've got the bad lighting and suddenly you really see the shape. Doesn't matter how much concealer you're wearing.
Yeah.
So again, I would really think about, oh, actually, you know, sometimes if someone's really puffy, you'll make sure that that swollen area is maybe a touch warmer within reason and matte. And then I would go back in with something really light and just go literally onto that shadow.
Little
and
tear
just
trough
lift
area.
that tear trough, yeah. And just make sure that that is looking as flat as it possibly can. It's an illusion, an optical illusion, because you're not really covering.
Yeah.
You are.
That's probably why
you're sculpting.
Yeah.
Sculpting.
That's probably why I like this NARS matte, soft matte.
Yeah.
Under there a little bit.
Yeah, because it's not highlighting.
Yeah, I never really
swelling.
realized why I like that. So, but
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
you've
You don't want
articulated it.
radiance.
Yes, exactly. Because a lot of what about your favorite corrector? That's a hard thing to find.
Well, I used to like those Becca ones back in the day. I used to love Becca.
Do you know they still make it under Smashbox?
Oh, that's right. They do,
Yeah,
don't they?
yeah.
I used to love that one. I always used to love the Shimmering Skin Perfector. I remember when I started my kind of YouTube thing, and somebody wrote a blog somewhere and they said, are you in the cult of Lisa Eldridge? Here's how to tell. And it made me laugh so much, because it was like, do you own Becca Shimmering Skin Perfector? You know, do you use this? Are you pinpoint concealing your spots? Yes, you are in the cult. So yeah, that's and then otherwise it's just who's got good shades, really.
Yeah.
So I have a real mix of like professional derma colors and cryolin type of things, because sometimes obviously you might have to cover tattoos or who knows what's going to happen on a shoot. And other times, I'm just using, you know, a Bobbi Brown one or an old Becca one or something.
Yeah.
But I have a real big selection of those types of products, because you just never know on a job what's going to happen what you're going to be faced with, what you need to do.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about lips, because I know that one of your own bestsellers is a lipstick, and you have a kind of famous lifted lipstick application method.
Yeah.
So what is that?
So that was something that, because I'd launched, obviously, my lipsticks, my first ones were red lips. And a lot of my community were like, oh, I'd love to try a red lipstick, but my lips go down. And I'm like, listen, my lips go down, but I'm not drawing them down. So it was really because of that. And then when I started launching more shades, and some of them were dark, and everyone, oh, I'd love to try that, but again, I've got this resting bitch face thing. So I thought, I have to make a video, because they don't need to do this. This does not need to be happening. And I really loved that video, because the before and after, I do not change my expression at all. And people are like, oh, you're smiling. I'm like, no, cover the lips and look at the eyes and the face. It's the same expression. And that really demonstrates the power of makeup, in my opinion, that video, because it's something quite easy to do. You know, it is about just almost cutting off the corners of the lower lip where it does start to drag down. And I say to put guidelines there. So maybe put like a load of concealer, too much that you're going to blend later, just to put that shape and cut those corners off and go in on the inside on the lower lip. You can still overdraw and go full and all of that. I'm all into that. I love an overdrawn lip. But it's just about where you apply that lipstick at those outer corners, top and bottom.
Okay.
Because again, you don't want this shape on the top, because that drags down as well. So you think about up. And that video, I've had so many compliments on it.
So is that where you'd use something like the Laura Mercier camouflage or something?
Yeah, I'd use the Pinpoint concealer because I just draw the line, and I use a slightly lighter one. Okay. And then I just blend it in afterwards.
Okay, nice.
But when people send me pictures, as they do very often, and say, I've just done I've just done this, and when they send me like, look, I've just tried this, and now my lips look a really good shape. I'm like, your lips are a really good shape. You weren't doing them any favors. You weren't helping yourself.
So it's such a good point to just kind of like that thing you were talking about, the expression is the same. But
It's the same, but I look completely pissed off in one.
Yeah.
And then the other one, I look really happy.
Yeah.
And it's just the lip
I love
shape
it.
on the lower lip.
I'm obsessed. Okay, we need to talk about this, which is I'm holding Lisa's Refillable lipstick. First of its kind. There's 0 plastic in here. Ah. I have the ribbon color, I believe.
Yeah.
Talk to me about this, because this is just stunning.
Thank you. So this was a bit of a fantasy of mine. I think it's because I was looking at all my vintage lipsticks, you know, and sometimes I put all my favorites out, and I just was thinking one day, these look more modern, more futuristic, they're more sustainable, and they're more amazing and cooler than anything that I'm seeing. Because that whole kind of sustainability thing started like 5-6 years ago, where I'd be sent from brands refills, and then it'd be like, now you've got the refill and it's so much better for the environment and you can recycle it. And then I noticed that all the refills inside were mixed. They were either plastic with metal, which you can never recycle, or they had little plastic cup just inside. So again, it renders it, even though it looked like it was metal, I'm like, a little bit of plastic on the inside. And then very often it was magnets, so magnets in the base and magnets in the refill, which again, non-recyclable. So I thought maybe you just can't do it. Maybe that's the problem, that it's so expensive now to do it. So I just challenged myself with doing it, really. And it took 5 years.
Wow.
And it really was a horrible journey. I have to say, it wasn't fun.
Yeah.
Because I for the actual design of the case, it was based on 3 of my favorite vintage lipsticks. But then when it came to the inside, we realized that we'd have to kind of make this separate, so that the inside is a separate piece, and it's completely, this is the bit that's completely aluminium.
Yeah.
So we tried so many versions of this, and it would never work. And they'd say to me, the engineers would say, "Are you sure you wouldn't like just to add a little magnet in there?
Right.
Or if we can take, you know, if we don't make this one solid piece, and that the cup could be a separate thing, and this could be a little plastic cup."
Yeah.
So I said no. And then I was supposed to launch it holiday 24. And at the last minute, we found an issue with this, so I had to cancel it. And it was a year late. And I thought, oh, wow, someone might do it in the meantime. Because by then I was like, oh, my God, I'll be the first to do it, you know, since 100 years ago. But no, I was still the first to do it. And I had so many from the industry, so many CEOs of very, very big conglomerates message me saying, so impressed that you actually did that, because, you know, we were all trying at the moment to do it.
Really?
So I was so happy with it. And I think as well, a lot of people in the industry would say to me, oh, you know, yeah, you can do it, but, you know, you'll never sell any refills.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's lovely.
Yeah.
But you won't sell any refills. Same when I did my eyeshadow palettes.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, they're going to be microplastic and talc-free and refillable. Oh, well, you might sell a couple of refills. I sell loads of refills. It's a third of my sales of this lipstick is the refill. I mean, the case is expensive to buy the original, but then it's a normal price to, as in, it's still a luxury price, but it's not, you know, £200 for lipstick and then $60 every time you want to buy a refill. And that was something I was really passionate about. I don't want it to be cost a fortune. I want it to be affordable. You know, not something that's just such a crazy price.
I find that sometimes with refills, there's not enough of an incentive with money savings. I think that's maybe where some brands, it's like, you know,
saving $10 on a cream,
$10,
or
and it's like, it feels like, well, I may as well just spend the extra $10 and get the big, you know, the
gorgeous
beautiful
thing.
packaging kind of thing. So
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like, you know, people need that little incentive. As you were holding your red lipstick there, I noticed that your earring is a red lipstick.
Yeah. It's a fully functional red lipstick.
I'm obsessed with all your gemstones on your site and everything. She sells everything.
This goes up and down.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
You make these?
Yeah, not me personally,
Yeah.
but a master jeweler. It takes him 6 hours per charm.
Oh my gosh.
So you can use it on a necklace or, It's,
okay, we'll get pictures, everybody.
I make 3 different shades. They are,
I've gone this is off topic, but I've gone so deep on the gemstones on that part of your site.
Oh yeah.
I'm obsessed with all of them
All of
that
them,
you wear.
No, I love them. It's like an eyeshadow palette though, putting together colours.
Yeah.
And I always loved gemstones.
It's
Yeah.
That was what I
incredible.
used to use some of the makeup for. I used to draw on paper
Yeah.
with my mum's makeup, little circles of colour, and then using the doll's bottle, you know, milk
Yeah.
bottle, water in, and put a dot over the top, and it would make a perfect gemstone. And I would do all these drawings with like thousands of colours of gems using makeup.
It's so
So
cool.
makeup and gems are almost, very much part of the same world for me.
Yeah.
Well, on that topic, we should talk about your eyeshadow because
Yeah.
this is a new palette for summer. And maybe you could tell us about that.
So this is called Desert Gleam, and it's kind of inspired by, it's kind of the late 60s, early 70s, and it's that real obsession with safari chic that was existing back then, and all
Oh,
those, because I
yes.
collect vintage magazines as well, so I have all these amazing magazines, and some of these shoots have just always really spoken to me,
Yes.
because it's kind of high glam but safari as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I kind of gave it a little bit more of a 90s grungy feel,
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of what was fashionable in the 90s came from the 70s, the skinny
Right.
brows, the bias cuts, which in turn came from the 1930s. But as we know, trends are very cyclical. And then for the lipsticks, I've got 3 new lipsticks that launch with it as well, and they're super grungy colours.
Yeah.
I'm calling them dirty.
Okay.
It's a dirty sort of mauvey chocolate and quite a dirty red. But this one, there's 5 different textures and formulas. So they take
Wow.
10 months to make one palette. So this is my only problem. That I think I've overstretched the lab enormously. So I've got 2 different backfill technologies and 3 different matte technologies in here,
Wow.
which is probably silly because
So each,
I
what she's
love
saying
it.
is like each pan
Is a
is
different
filled
texture.
different ways.
yeah, but you
So-
can't.
yeah.
So you have to do them all
Yes,
separately,
yes,
and then
exactly.
assemble another time. So it
Yeah.
means you've got to get on the assembly line
Yeah.
Yeah.
5 times for one palette, which
Wow.
is yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've learned
And
so
then-
much. I'm realizing from the lipstick lesbians, the amazing duo Alexis and Christina,
Yeah,
because
they're
they're always like talking
incredible.
about the backfill of pans,
Yeah,
and I'm like, oh
yeah.
yeah, I know what you're talking about now because of that.
Yeah. So to do so
It's
many
amazing.
different textures in one
Yeah.
palette is just a little bit of a challenge for the labs.
love
but
it.
Yeah.
you know, we got there.
Yeah.
And,
love
and tell us about your choice to continue with palettes, because there's been a lot of buzz around like the demise of palettes, but you're still passionate. You're doing like 5 textures in a 6 unit pan. So tell us about that.
I think with this one, I mean, it's obviously it's based on a 1930 cigarette case. It's this real thin, kind of just a nice thing to have. I think because I put only 6 shades in there and they're all refillable. So if you do want to switch it out,
Right.
come the winter, to put 3 different shades in there to match, you can. Or if there's one shade that you just use all the time, you can at least refill it. And I know a lot of the people who love my palettes will have maybe 2 different ones, and they'll interchange them, and then they'll buy different colors. So it becomes a little bit more like your mini little pro kit. So it's not like having one of those enormous palettes where
You
you can
use
never
3
refill
shades.
them and you
Yeah.
use 3 shades, which I get, if you're not a makeup artist, it's
Yeah.
maybe not what you're looking for. But I still like palettes. I
Yeah.
think that they are, and I like makeup. So as much as I like beautiful skin, clean aesthetic, I love colour at the end of the day. And I love playing with makeup. So
I
I'd
think
be
this is
sad
where
if we-
refills really make sense. And this, to your point, is that you can kind of customize at the end of the day to what you use most, because that is, I think, definitely what turns people off, is that there's just all
Yeah.
these shades that aren't being used. you
Yeah.
know?
absolutely.
Yeah.
I want to get a little sneak peek of maybe something you have coming up, a new category for you.
I do have a new category in September.
Okay.
These are not the real things. These are what we call Frankensteins, because we kind of push them together. But I have 5 eyebrow pencils coming. So, I mean, sometimes I do crazy things that take 5 years that are world firsts. These are beautiful, but I wouldn't say like it's never been seen before, an eyebrow pencil like this. But they're really good colours, I have to say, because I've never understood the chestnut eyebrow situation or
Yeah.
chestnut pencil. So they're just really good colours that I know work on eyebrows.
Okay.
It's really micro fine. It is a different tip than other ones that you've seen, as in it's micro, but it's sort of rounded as well. I don't know if you can see. These are actually used quite a lot yesterday. Sorry, so it might be
okay.
it might have kind of worn down a little bit. They're refillable again, so you can refill. You can have different shades.
These are refillable.
Yeah, these are refillable, and then you've got your little brush there. So it was such, especially my makeup artists that work with me, like, when are you going to do an eyebrow pencil? Because we need to be able to finish eyebrows.
Yes.
So yeah, I've been working on these for quite a long time to make sure that I launch with 5 really good shades, because that's always a problem as a makeup artist, to get really, really great shades.
Before we let you go, we chatted a little bit earlier off mic about your series. It's Makeup, A Glamorous History, 6-part series on the BBC, all about the history of makeup. How do you archive your collection? And do you have a hard time letting things go? Like, what's the most treasured for you?
I never let anything go. That's the problem. Oh, what's the most treasured? So many pieces. I've got 7,000 pieces. Wow. I do have a museum, private museum. Lots of museums approach me to lend stuff as well. It's all amazing. Yeah. It's hard to say what's your favorite, because every day I see something else. I think, oh, that's my new favorite. Yeah. Yeah, I got into collecting such a long time ago that it was very inexpensive then.
Yeah.
Right.
And when my book came out in 2015 and I started doing my YouTube videos as well a few years before that, I noticed that prices started going up. And then a lot of the time I meet people and they're like, oh, I collect makeup now because of you. And I'm like, it's amazing. It's great. Luckily, I got pretty much everything I wanted before it became a thing.
Yeah.
Because I remember being like embarrassed to make a video about it, because I thought everyone knew about collecting vintage compacts because they're beautiful objects or perfumes, but I thought people are going to think I'm really weird if I say I've got eyeshadows, mascaras, lipsticks, all of this stuff. And I remember doing my first video and I just had like a few pieces, and it was called Vintage Makeup, I Love It, and it was 2012, I think, 2011. And I thought, oh my God, they're going to be like, you're so weird. You're such a weirdo. But yeah, people were like, oh, that's interesting. I never knew you could collect vintage makeup.
Yeah. Has a brand ever approached you to buy something back?
Not yet, but I'm sure they will. I don't know. Maybe that they know I wouldn't sell it, actually. Yeah.
It's one of my favorite things when we get invited on a press trip to a brand's headquarters. Like we went to Chanel just outside of Paris.
Very, very fortunate.
And one of our first press trips together was Nivea. And I love seeing their archives, which they always have the very old packaging. So that's why I ask, because I imagine for some brands, whether it's Coty or whatnot, that you probably have some really important, pieces.
Yeah, I mean, brands didn't clock onto it for such a long time. I remember when I first started working for Shiseido and asking to see the archives, and there wasn't really one.
Really?
And when I started working for Boots, they said, oh, well, I think there's a room downstairs with a few bits in. I'm like, you guys need to, this is gold, you have to, because it tells the story, but also if you're coming in as a creative director into a brand, you want to see the history. You want to know the history to be able to move forward. It's the first thing I did at Longcom, and they did have good archives. I looked at everything. Advertising, looked at all of the products.
They're like, we have a whole room of roses. They're all dried from like 1920 till now.
Yeah,
exactly.
Just like a fashion designer.
Yeah, it's endless inspiration, right?
Yeah,
like they're so lucky that they have the. You just go back. There's another. There's another moment of beige
Chanel.
Or
whatever. They just mine it over and over again. Right?
And you want to tell the story in the future and modernize things, but you need to be everything. To be. You need that full knowledge to be able to do that.
Yeah, incredible. I need to ask you about meeting the king. Well, I need to ask you about your MBE, which was bestowed upon you by King Charles.
No, it wasn't.
But it was Prince William gave it to you.
Yes.
Okay, but it's from the king officially?
Oh, yes, it is, yeah.
Got it.
So you're on the list.
Tell us everything.
So yeah, it was funny because I never open my mail. I'm very bad at that. So if I let mail pile up, unless it looks like handwritten, but if it's boring,
Yeah.
I'm like, tomorrow or next week. And I was supposed to come to New York for the Gotham Film Awards with an actress here. And the day before, so this was the 1st of December, I got a call. I was on another job with another actress late the night before, and I got a call from her publicist saying, oh, Emma is not going to be, she's actually unwell. She's not going to be able to go to the awards tomorrow, so don't get on the plane, basically. So I was like, great, thanks for letting me know. So I was kind of at a loose end. I thought, right, Saturday at home, I'm going to open my mail. So I open my mail. I get to the bottom of this big pile, and there's this very official thing, which I opened, and it said, if you choose to accept, you must accept by the 2nd of December. And it had been there for like a month, 6 weeks.
Oh dear.
So I almost didn't get it.
Oh my God.
If that actress had not been ill, and I will tell her when I see her, I would not have got it because I wouldn't have opened the letter.
Wow.
Oh wow.
Or I would have opened it probably
Too
3
late.
weeks later,
Yeah,
and then I
yeah.
would have been.
Oh my
I wouldn't have got it.
goodness.
So, but it was amazing. It was the day itself was just so extraordinary, so official, so formal. I was just terrified of falling backwards because about 2 weeks before, Keira Knightley said to me, you know, you've got to walk backwards. And I said, what? I said, I bought these really high heels and I'm terrified, like stilettos. So I just had this whole thing that I was going to fall over in my mind because you're on carpet.
Yeah.
Anyway, they're so lovely there and they look after you so well. And they're with you. And he was so wonderful. I did chew his ear off about makeup.
Really?
I talked to him because he was like, so makeup, and I was like, not just makeup, blah 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 blah. Yeah, and he was lovely. So I chatted to him for ages, and then I had to walk backwards, and I didn't fall over.
Oh,
So I
yay.
was very happy.
Oh my God. Well, massive congratulations to you. It's so well deserved. And I
Thank
just
you.
I think it's a beautiful thing that fashion and beauty is recognized in that way, because it is a big deal. It's such a big part of our lives, and for it to be recognized on that stage, I think is incredibly important. And I think a lot of, we've had people on our show, and it's like, they are changing lives. You are changing lives with your tutorials. So I think it's brilliant.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, absolutely.
And our last question for you, a lot of your North American fans have been kind of buying blindly online.
I know. Thank you for that.
Right? But, so I think they'll be really excited to hear that you might have a little pop-up happening this fall. What can you tell us?
I'm here basically looking for a store. So hopefully I'll find something. I would love to have it this year because like you say, I think 55% of my customers are American from North America. So I do appreciate that they're buying Complexion products online. I mean, I have got amazing customer service. They're my team since day one. They are the best in the world, and I'll stick my neck out and say that. They're all trained by me, and we really look after people. And there's no... It's real people that you're talking to that care and want to do the best. So at least we have that.
Yes.
But of course, so many people are like, when are you going to have a physical place?
I think there will be lineups around the
Yes,
block.
I have no doubt about it.
I know it's planned for New York. So guys, keep your eyes and ears on Lisa's
First
page.
one for New York, yeah.
First.
I'm
It'd be a
saying
big deal.
First. We're going to jump into a fun little rapid fire now.
Okay, Lisa, we're putting you on the hot seat.
Oh my God.
Makeup myth that still persists that you want to debunk forever.
I think, oh my God. Yeah, makeup rules and myths. There's so many of them that are just rubbish. You can't wear red lipstick over 35. When you're older, you can't wear anything with any shimmer in it. When you're in your... I mean, some of these things that you read, like in your 30s, do this, in your 40s, do that. I'm sorry, what's changing? Not a lot. So I'm not into anything like that. I think every face is different. So be guided and don't listen to all that rubbish.
Okay, the big debate on social media, in which order do you get ready? Hair, makeup, outfit, hair, makeup, outfit, makeup, hair.
Hair, makeup, outfit.
Okay. Okay.
That's what I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you
Okay.
go. We're
Twinning.
sisters.
Twinning.
That's so funny.
What do you do, Carlene?
I do outfit, makeup, hair.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Starting point.
Why hair first?
Because if I'm putting like creams on my face or things that I'm oily, so I don't want to be like stuff sticking there. So hair and then clips or a headband or something to hold the hair
Okay.
back, then do the makeup.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bath or shower?
I do of course have showers, but I
Yes.
love baths
Yeah.
so much.
Any favorite
obsessed.
products?
Yeah, I like magnesium flakes,
Ooh.
Better You ones. They're the ones I buy in the UK. And I love magnesium flake baths.
Okay.
Yeah, they're my favorite.
What's your favorite place to go in London for inspiration?
God, there's so many places to go. I tend to go walking on Hampstead Heath every single weekend.
Beautiful.
And that's just because I think nature is the best inspiration.
Yeah.
And it just sets you and makes you just figure out all your ideas. Plus I do therapy walking, which is what me and my friend call it, my American friend. We meet every week and then we're like, okay, and it's treadmill talk, we call it. And we walk around the heath and we just blah, 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 everything that's happened and get take on it. And sometimes there's 2 or 3 of us, but it's so good because it mentally clears you. You can, and you see nature. It's lovely.
I've got a friend like that too, and I never thought of like a name for it. It's our therapy walk. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna follow you on that one. Now, what's the best tip that you've learned from a viewer or a follower?
I think that over the years, I think I've learned so much from my followers. I really have, and I say that. They say, "Oh, we learned so much from you." I'm like, "I learned so much from you." I think particularly with products, so it's hard to choose just one. But when I started my YouTube channel, I remember seeing the comments coming in, and there was one from somebody saying, "Oh, I love this look, but I can't get this product on the Himalayan borders," and I was like, "This is phenomenal. Like, this is the whole world that I'm talking to here." It really brought it home to me. And people have given me so many tips on, "Oh, try this product," or "Do you know this brand? I live in wherever and this is a really good brand and they have this product." And I've then gone and sourced those products and tried them and liked them or whatever. But that's been phenomenal because it's like I've got a whole army of detectives all over the world that tell me what is happening in every single place.
Yeah, I think that's
amazing.
a wonderful thing about the beauty industry. People want to share.
They really
like
do.
if you ask, what's your favorite lipstick? Well, I have
Oh
to
my
tell
God,
you.
yeah, they
my
want to
mom
tell
had
you.
this and then this.
Yes.
Or also the nostalgia factor, which we started this conversation talking about the nostalgia piece, digging into your mom's makeup bag, and just it's so rich that way.
Yeah, that's true.
What's the last makeup product you actually bought?
What's the last thing I bought? What's the last thing I bought?
Your own cleanser?
Oh God, that was funny. Yeah, no, I ran out of my own cleanser. I had to go and buy it from the counter, and they were like, "No, this can't be happening." And I was like, "I actually need it now, so I'll pay for it." Yeah, I forgot about
funny.
that.
Like
Thank God
Selfridges
she's here.
is Selfridges?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm like, I need to buy. They're like, "No, we can't. We have to give it to you." I'm like, "No, you have to sell it to me."
Funny.
Yeah, that would be a trip if they see
Yeah,
you
it was
coming in.
it was a bit of a trip. I
Yeah.
was like, "No, you don't understand."
What's the last thing that made you crack up laughing? Maybe it was on one of your walks or...
I crack up laughing quite a lot.
Yeah.
Because I think I've always had that quite mischievous sense of humour.
Yeah.
But the last time we really cracked up, I'll mention no names, but coming back from Cannes, in the check-in line, we were behind quite a famous actor. I've never met him before. He was being an absolute idiot. I mean, he was like being, really rude to people.
I see.
This whole thing, and peacocking like you've never seen before. And we just lost it because we were like, firstly, I said, "Oh my God, he's such a peacock. This is ridiculous." And we were trying to like not engage as well to give him an audience. And then my friend Jessie here said, not only is he a peacock, but he puts the cock into peacock. And we lost it. Tears were running down. We were literally on the floor. We were on the floor and watching this crazy display. And it was, honestly, talk about cry your makeup off. We had nothing. We were wrecks. And we laughed.
I love those
and we
moments.
laughed for about an hour and a half. We couldn't stop laughing because we kept seeing him in the airport and losing it.
I love that.
We'll
that
have to get the
sticks with
name
you.
after. What is your favorite restaurant in London? Where do we need to go when we stop in?
I like a place called Gautier in Soho.
Okay.
And it's actually a vegan restaurant, but you'd never know that. And it's just a house. You book in, you don't know what you're going to get. It's a beautiful house in Soho. And you turn up and they give you like an 8-course meal. And it can be anything. Amazing. And the guy's so inspiring. He had 3 Michelin stars with a regular restaurant, and then he decided to go vegan himself, and he does like caviar that you think is caviar and it's not, and all these amazing things. So
incredible.
I just think it's so creative, and it's such a nice experience to go to. It doesn't look like a restaurant from outside either.
Love it.
And it's quite a unique experience.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much, Lisa, for joining us. It's an honor, truly,
No,
to
it's
have
an
you
honor
here,
to be on.
to be sharing the microphone with you and chatting, and it's really wonderful. And everybody, check out this episode on YouTube, because we can't have Lisa Eldridge on the show and not post this on YouTube. And also our TikTok, where we're going to do a little reaction video of Lisa reacting to some of her past looks. So thank you so much.
Brilliant.
you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Great.
It's been
Thank
wonderful.
you.
Thank you.